You're now listening to Hispanics Causing Panic, baby. Let's do this.
Right now, Hispanics are causing black. But right now, Hispanics are causing black. Yeah, folks, Hispanics are causing panic.
And thanks to those joining us live, those who have joined us on the archive. D-Style Boxing Live. Right, I'm being joined by the one and the only Lyndon from Boxing Deep Dive. Subscribe to his channel here on YouTube. You can follow him under the same handle on Instagram. How's it going, Lyndon?
Good, mate. Had a really good weekend. Good day of fights yesterday, and even more to come this weekend.
Absolutely. I'm wearing one of my D-Style boxing tees. You guys could go ahead and get those at the store, right? And make sure you get one. I'm just saying, actually good quality. I'm just saying. So, and I know Lyndon has his merch too. You go to his channel right there, Boxing Deep Dive merch, Talking Boxing merch, the whole nine. So there you go. First of all, I picked Eubank to win, but like I did something last minute, right? So I saw the weigh-in, and I'm like, man, this guy looks like from Tales of the Crypt right here. I don't know what the hell's going on. He doesn't look good. Benn looked fresh and ready to go. I was just thinking to myself, like, man, this isn't good. And then I hear there's a rehydration clause on top of it. I'm like, there's some drama with that. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with Benn. Historically, when a guy is weight trained, it's not a good thing. But Eubank turns around and he wins the fight, Lyndon. I think the 8-4 sounds about right. It's just my opinion. There's some people saying it should have been closer. You know what I don't get? Boxing fans that are outraged that it was 8-4 and not 7-5. It's a round. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like it's one round. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how is one like that bad? Like, I don't know. But I thought he clearly outboxed Benn. I thought it was a good fight. It was an entertaining fight. And I will say, I do think he was weight trained. I do think he was zapped a little bit of his energy. But even then, it was just too much for Benn to overcome, even then. But that's how I saw the fight. What you think of the fight?
Yeah, look, I think it was a good fight. Obviously, lots of people have their say, of course, whether it was better than their father's fight and everything else. Look, I must admit, I went for Benn as well. I thought he might have even stopped Chris Eubank Jr. But look, I must admit, I got a little bit sucked in by what I thought Benn was as a fighter compared to what I think he was sort of shown to be yesterday. And look, I think he was sort of exposed as being just a very limited fighter. Look, no one can doubt his heart, his grit, his toughness. But geez, when it got into the nitty gritty of the later rounds with Eubank Jr., I just thought he failed to have a game plan. It was just head down. His legs were wide apart. It was winging punches. Didn't seem like there was a plan B. And Chris Eubank Jr. just exposed him, I thought, as being pretty limited. But probably the best I've seen Chris Eubank Jr. fight, at least in the last few years anyway. But I thought he fought a really good fight, really good game plan. Not that he needed a great game plan to beat not Conor Benn, who has that one gear straight ahead, doesn't he? But look, a good fight between two domestic level fighters, and I think everyone got their money's worth and probably got what they expected.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Ben just loading up on his shots. Like if you're gonna take the guy out on one shot or something, I'm thinking to myself, like, is that all? Is that it? Like, I don't think that, like, obviously it wasn't enough to beat Eubank. And at the very end, they're having an exchange, and Eubank's getting the best of him. I mean, credit to Ben. I mean, he left it all out there, and I think he showed a lot of heart and a lot of determination. But it just, I mean, he even got out hustled in the last round. I mean, he got outworked, and Eubank had Ben's head like bobbing up like all over the place right there. So I just think that he outboxed him when necessary, even outfought him when necessary. And that was with some, I don't even think he was at his full strength. You know, I just don't. But but he had enough anyway to overcome what Conor Benn had. Speaking of Eubank, his father showed up. They did the whole thing where, like, I don't know how much you watched pro wrestling in them, but they always have this shot where the limo pulls through and who's that? And then they open it and then the crowd goes wild. That's what it reminded me of. Chris Eubank showed up and everyone's acting. It's a big accomplishment. I mean, I want to be the Debbie Downer. I'm like, well, he is the father. I mean, I would think, you know, but apparently he hasn't talked to his son in a long time. It's a bigger story than even I kind of knew it was. But he showed up for his son, which is good. And I did kind of feel good for Eubank Jr. that his dad showed up, especially after in one of the press conferences talking about, I know pain. I haven't talked to my father in years. And that's pain. And I think that was a very heartfelt moment that he had at that press conference.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm with you. I don't actually watch a lot of pro wrestling, or not in about the last 20 years anyway. But I do get where you're coming from. But look, I think it was great, and I think if Chris Eubank Jr. needed maybe that little extra something to get him across the line, I thought that was it. And look, obviously it was pre-planned. He would have probably known about it in the last couple of days before the event, but I thought it was great, and I think it really just put a little bit of a something more on his step. And look, I just thought he just fought a really controlled fight. I think what you've got to boil it down to is that Eubank Jr. fought a smart fight, and Conor Benn didn't fight a smart fight. Now, whether that's in his repertoire or not is another discussion, I suppose. But I see a few comments in the chat there that he hurt Eubank a few times. I don't necessarily agree. I think he got his attention a few times with some really good shots, but I don't think there was any stage where I was like, wow, good shot. Eubank might be in a bit of trouble here. He might have rocked him or maybe caught him at a good time, but I just don't think he landed any shots that really had Eubank on the verge of maybe being knocked down or being stopped or whatever it might be. And I just thought that Eubank, he just did what probably an elite boxer should do, is that use his movement, use his jab, use his smarts, use his IQ, and just fight a good fight. And I just don't think Conor Benn has that in his repertoire. I mean, look at the fight. I watched it again this morning. It's just legs wide apart, head down, and just swing from the fences, and that's all that Conor Benn had. And even when he'd finish punches, and if you've been in the boxing game or even just a boxing fan, the golden rule: you don't go back in a straight line after you've punched, because it opens you up to a lot of. And look at the replay of Conor Benn. Every time he finished punching, he head up in the air in a straight line back, and Chris Eubank was just picking him off, and that's why those uppercuts were landing, and he was so predictable. Well, I don't mean to be too derogatory of Conor Benn, because he showed a massive amount of heart, but I was just surprised that a fighter of that level just was so limited in what he could do. And I just thought, again, Eubank Jr. simply won the fight by just fighting a smart fight.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that. Like, I've heard Teddy Atlas talk about this, like showing heart and being tough. It's great, but it's not enough when your opponent also shows heart and is tough, right? At that point, you got to have a game plan. Like there has to be more to, like, you can't just will yourself to win every fight.
And there was no game plan yesterday. There was none from Benn.
I guess the game plan was I'm going to land a big one. You know, I don't know. Did he believe what he said? I know he would do the interview and say, oh, I'm going to blow him out in 3-4 rounds. And I don't know. I thought he was just saying that, but I'm trying to think, did he believe that? Like, did he really think he was going to go in there and just blast him out? Did he get this big sense of confidence when he saw him looking like Skeletor at the weigh-in and like, oh, I drained this dude. This is it. You know, I don't know, but he definitely, it was surprising that there wasn't much of a game plan for sure, or at least it didn't appear so, right? Shout out to Nando, Benn, and Ryan Garcia, and Canelo versus Eubank, 2 biggest fights that can be made right now. Skip, but he doesn't have an ounce of Eubank star power. So shout out to Nando. I appreciate it for that $5 super chat. All right, I'll go ahead and play this for Nando.
I'm a hard-working man.
He's a hardworking man, you know what I mean? But I mean, those are big fights, whether we like it or not. They're big fights. I think Benn versus Ryan would be interesting for sure. Eubank Canelo, I don't think Eubank has a shot against Canelo. I just don't.
No.
But is it a big fight, like a marquee fight? Definitely in the UK. For sure. I just think that's like a December or early in the year. And I'm not, I promise I'm not trying to be disparaging towards Eubank, but I think it's like a warm-up fight for Canelo if he, or just kind of like a throwaway fight if he wants to have a fight in the UK. And that could be a big fight that Canelo could do in the UK, but I think Canelo takes him out. I think it's a very easy fight for Canelo.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, I'm not sure what was that Skip, but he doesn't have an ounce of Eubank star power. Well, that's arguable, I suppose. I thought that Bud did have a fair bit of star power, but I think the Eubank Canelo fight makes so much sense because it ticks the boxes of where probably Canelo is at this stage of his career. And since when does it matter about whether the other guy can win or not? I mean, I think the last few fights of Canelo's has been pretty much about just not so much about, you know, giving the, as we all know, with the Benavidez situation, giving the fans what they want. It's more about what suits him at the time. And he's always talked about wanting a big fight in England. And Chris Eubank, with the name now, the win yesterday, again, and the timing is probably a big thing as well. Eubank, if he does fight Benn later in the year, they're talking about September, but May would then seem to be the logical place for that fight. And, of course, Canelo needs a fight or a dance partner in May after Crawford, and that seems like it's going to be the one. But I don't mind the fight. I think the build-up would be great. I think it'd be great to have the English fans involved with their man up against Canelo, although he has made mincemeat of a few English fighters over the years, hasn't he? But I just think it'll be a great event. They probably have 60, 70, 80,000 there, wherever they fought. Maybe at Wembley be more like 90, but I don't mind the fight. Does he have a chance of beating Canelo? I don't think so. I think Canelo would just pick the holes in his defense and really make him pay. Conor Benn and Ryan Garcia would be entertaining, but geez, I could just see at some stage Ryan Garcia landing that left hook as Conor Benn comes in and being all over, because Conor Benn sort of seen or has his image of, like his dad, being the destroyer. He's actually adopted that nickname and wore the same outfit and everything like that. But you look at him, he doesn't seem to have that real knockout punch as he's gone up in class, I suppose. And I'm just not sure he has enough to get to Ryan Garcia. And as I said, he might have a few moments early, but I could see Ryan Garcia knocking Benn out in 5 or 6 rounds. It'd be entertaining while it lasted, though, but I'm just not sure Conor Benn, from what I saw yesterday, really has what it takes to really compete at the really elite level and keep him away from Boots Ennis, because that fight would be ugly. And even Brian Norman, that would be ugly as well. I think Norman would take care of him pretty easily as well.
Yeah, the power is just not going to translate.
You need more than power.
Yeah, you do need more than power. And not only that, the bigger guys have more punch resistance. They're bigger up because they're bigger. And your power just isn't going to have the same effect anymore. So what do you need? You need skill, right? Manny Pacquiao wasn't successful in all his weight classes because he had big power, right? The higher he went, the less knockouts he got, actually. But he was still winning fights. You know what I mean? Roberto Duran was a devastating puncher at 135, but then as he moved up in weight classes, not that he was a soft puncher anymore, but he stopped. He didn't have that one punch knockout power anymore.
He'd rely on his IQ. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all about IQ. It was about having a game plan, and how does he win that fight? You watch him fight Hagler, and he boxes a very smart fight in that fight, right? He didn't fight recklessly because he had to against a Hagler, right? Can you imagine Conor Benn moving up to fight a Hagler? What would happen to him, right? So it isn't enough just having power. Even if he did have knockout power still in those weight classes, just putting your head down, like you said, and just swing and loading up on those shots. And I mean, honest to God, it was like, I'm about to throw my punch right now. Like he knows it's coming, that just isn't enough. And I just think he needs to do two things. Go back to 147. I think that's his best bet. And obviously keep working on his craft before he even thinks about moving up in weight, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the thing is, what you also got to look at is, who does he fight? I mean, I think Eddie Hearn said at the press conference that, well, now we'll go back and we'll assess it and see whether we'll fight for a world title. But who's he going to fight for the world titles? I mean, Ennis, I think would just make mincemeat of Benn. As I said, Norman would do the same, and he goes to 154. I mean, geez, it's even more dangerous at 154. And all those guys have got, or most of them have actually got fights scheduled. So I'm not quite sure where Eddie just pulls out that it's okay, we'll just put Conor Benn in a world title fight. I mean, Barrios is beatable at 147, but now they're talking about he might fight Pacquiao. But even that, I mean, he's beatable. Even I think Barrios beats Conor Benn. And I don't know. I mean, look, again, I don't want to be disparaging towards a guy that just went 12 rounds yesterday in a great fight, but I think it sort of highlighted for me even more just how limited Conor Benn is, and I just don't think he competes at that level. Now, they've got him a $10 million payday yesterday. They'll probably get him another $10 million payday in the rematch if that is the way they go. I know Eddie Hearn did say that maybe they might not go down the rematch route straight away because of the toll that it might take on Conor Benn and his career going forward. But, geez, if I was him, I'd take the fight while I could take it or while it's there, because it's $10 million. I'm just not sure that he's got the ability to be in any of those big fights going forward. And who's going to generate $10 million for him in any of those other fights, no matter who he fights at 147 or 154. So, yeah, some interesting times for both guys. Yeah,
I mean, one option is the Ryan Garcia fight, if they were to happen to do that one, I guess. I think that is a big fight, but is it bigger than the Eubank fight? I'm not sure. Not in the UK, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see how everything plays out. Now, I speaking of Eubank Senior, I saw some interviews of his like before and after, and he's just straight up saying he doesn't want to see the rematch, right? And his reasoning is he doesn't want his son to keep dropping down in weight because that's unhealthy, and it's not healthy for Ben to be moving up either. So it's kind of interfering with both their careers is the way he sees it, right? And he was being interviewed by Radio Raheem, and he looked at him and he said, it's you guys in the media are supposed to be saying this. You guys in the media need to start doing your job, is what he said. Now, he's saying it in a nice way. He's not being rude about it. But I will say this. I don't know how much Eubank Sr. at the moment is paying attention to the boxing media, but it seems to me like the boxing media, and this isn't everybody, so I don't want to paint too much with a broad brush, but they've almost become pandering dudes. Like, they're just pandering. And they pander to the promoters, they pander to the fighters. And I don't know, a lot of it is to get access. A lot of it, they don't want to be the hater and say that they don't think the rematch should happen. So they don't want to say it, right? Because then, if you say you don't want to see the rematch in your media, and then when there is a rematch and there's credentials being passed out, you don't want to be the guy that gets left out because you were saying you don't want to see the rematch, right? But either way, I found it fascinating because it's not the first time. I've heard him say it several times this week, telling the media to do their jobs, right? It's just a fascinating aspect that I noticed about Eubank.
They've got to be careful, don't they? Because I think we've seen that it was a boxing scene over the weekend. They were denied access to the fight, and they actually put a statement on their page saying we haven't been given access to the fight because we haven't said the right thing. And that's probably one thing I don't like this now, Turkey Al Sheikh era, as far as having sort of full control of boxing. And now he's saying, well, you can come and you can come, but you can't because you haven't been complimentary towards us. I think that promoters like Oscar and Eddie and Bob and all those guys, they probably wouldn't like a lot of those sites and maybe a lot of the journalists, but they realise it's the profession. This is the industry we're in, and they allow them access because at the end of the day, they're giving insight to their event through their site. So I just think it's a little bit childish that the guys at Riyadh season didn't allow a boxing scene there, and now they're picking and choosing. And you're right, a lot of the journalists now, we see it all over the place. I see it here in Australia a fair bit as well, where you get a lot of the social media guys having to say and do things a certain way and don't really say what they're thinking, because if they don't, then they don't get access to the next fight night.
MAW, thank you for the super chat, brother. It says, hello, boxing fans, D-Style Linden and chat. Subscribe, share, and smash the like button. That like button, please. Folks, hey, man, I appreciate you and your for support. You know what I mean?
Man, that nigga was that Japanese guy was in shape.
Man, I already is in shape, MAW, you know what I mean? But hey, here's the thing. And I'm glad that Eubank Senior is kind of challenging the media a little bit, right? Kind of like, you guys should be saying this. Like, this guy's a welterweight. He's fighting a guy at 168, and this guy has to drop so many pounds, and this guy needs to move up in weight. And maybe you should be saying something about this, or talking about fighters fighting in their weight classes and stuff like that. But now, of course, all that's going to be opinion and all that. But this is why I have always chosen to remain independent. This is why I've always chosen to control what happens here. It's all under my control, right? If I interview somebody, I'm going to ask them what I want to ask them. It is what it is, right? And that's that. I've never been somebody that wants to go out. Like, I've always been hesitant about going out to events and applying for credentials, and I've seen it happen. I'm not going to mention any names. A lot of them are my friends, but I've seen it happen where, hey, I can't criticize this because I'm going to be going to this event. I already planned a trip. I don't want them to strip me of the credentials. And I've seen, even if they don't say it, I've seen people be influenced by, you just know it. They either avoid certain topics or whatever they have to do, and I can't blame them. A lot of them make a living doing this, right? But this is why I refuse to make this my living. I refuse, right? Yeah. I make my money in other ways, and if somebody wants to, like, what are they going to tell me? Oh, we're not going to give you credentials. Okay, no, I don't care, right? Well, I'm not going to give you access. Okay, cool. I'm not going to let you interview my fighter anymore. Okay, then don't. Like, I just don't care, right? But I do think that attitude, I just think we need more press like that. I just, in my opinion, but
I'm with you there, mate. And look, I'm a little bit the same. And look, end of the day, you're probably like me. You don't do it for the money. You do it because you love boxing and you love having your say and allowing other people to have the say. So yeah, I'm the same. I don't think I'd ever want to be, a bit of a sellout and just have to pull questions and everything else. But I'll tell you though, it's not all it's made out to be sometimes with the credentials. Anyway, it's good in the lead up to the fight because you get access to the weigh-in and the press conferences and all that sort of stuff. But when you're at the actual fight, you've actually got to sit in an area and you're not allowed to film anything. And it's not as good as it sounds sometimes. I've actually turned down press passes in the past because I actually want to go there and film the event and film my experience. Now everyone has their own different content for the channels. I'm more of my channel is more about detailing my experiences at these fights, not necessarily being a reporter. But yeah, it's not all it's cracked up to be sometimes. But yeah, I'm a bit like you, mate. I like being a free agent and being able to do what I want and say what I want. And I just don't think I'd bother doing what I do if I had to sort of toe the line like a lot of other people do.
Do you think the rematch happens?
I think it does. Yeah, I do. Look, I can understand what Eddie said yesterday about taking his toll on Connor. He did say they did fight again. They would maybe make Eubank Jr. come down in weight even more. Then, of course, you could just imagine Chris Sr. if that was the case. Look, lots of things will go about, and I know there's lots of things being said in the aftermath, but at the end of the day, I think they'll have the rematch. I think the same terms will be applied because we're talking about $10 million. Now, maybe Eubank could make that if he fought Canelo, but Conor Benn's got no other options. He's not going to make $10 million against anyone else. So, at the end of the day, as I say, if it makes money, it makes sense. And I think that's what will happen. They've already Turkey's already said he'd love to have it for September. What Turkey says goes, and I think it'll happen. Look, the only thing I could maybe say is that they might put it off a month or two to maybe give them both a little bit extra time to heal. But, yeah, I think it happens for sure.
Yeah, I will say this. Well, no one's entitled to credentials. Like, it's not illegal to not give somebody it's their event. They can do what they want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is bizarre to not give credentials to boxing scene. I will say that.
Yeah.
That is by far the most, when it comes to readers, it's the number one site that people go to.
Yeah.
And I know I get my news from boxing scene. I have for years. So even when they change ownership or whatever, I still continue to go to boxing scene. I know most content creators on here use boxing scene to give their opinions about and commentary about what's going on in the boxing world. We use boxing scene. When I would do the roundtables, half of the topics were all articles from boxing scene. So
the ratings are always great. They're easy to work out with everyone, with all the sanctioning bodies. Yeah, no, they're my favorite as well.
Yeah, so I find that strange why they were not. I know they put out I didn't read it, to be honest with you, but I had seen that they were not credentialed. I just think that's very bizarre. Like that. I don't know. Is bizarre the right word? Because I'm not shocked. Like, I'm not surprised.
No, I'm not shocked at all. I think the thing is what the promoters have got to get through their head is, I think, and this is probably the way I've always sort of tried to carry myself, as long as it's not personal. Who cares if someone out there, a reporter from whatever site, says that the event wasn't overly exciting, the fight wasn't overly exciting, the performance from the fighters wasn't overly impressive, then what's the problem with that? If they're saying in this instance that Turki Al Sheikh's bad for boxing and he's a bad person and this and that, well, okay, well, that's probably different. But I never see these reporters actually get personal about the people involved themselves. So as long as they're not actually getting personal, I just don't see what the problem is. It's just getting it's a little bit petty and a bit precious, if you ask me, that you're not allowing reporters from one of the biggest sites out there to come just simply because you don't like some of their content. It's ridiculous.
Well, the way I feel, just like promoters aren't, despite what boxing fans think, just like promoters aren't allowed to select the judges, just like promoters aren't allowed to select the refs, just like they're not allowed to dictate those terms. I think there should be some type of body or something that selects or credentials, decides who gets credentialed to boxing events, is the way I see it. I think something like that needs to be arranged. It's my opinion, but because the conflict of interest here it's not just a promoter. This is a Riyadh event, and Turki Al Sheikh owns the ring, which is a direct competitor to boxing scene, right? So there's just something about that is rubbing me the wrong way, because boxing scene, I don't know if you know this, Lyndon, but like they're owned by ProBox now.
They are, yeah. I did see that. Yeah.
ProBox does their own boxing events and stuff, so we don't need So if ProBox, let's say they grow, and like, what are they going to do? Start not credential people from the ring to their events?
Well, that's the next thing, isn't it? I mean, he's Turki Al Sheikh has slowly taken over every single thing about boxing. Is that the next thing where he says, all right, well, now we're going to control the content that goes out there about our events, and we're not going to let all these other sites in, and we're just going to have our own guys there? That's maybe the next step. So maybe sometimes I say you got to be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with that. But, I don't like the credential culture in terms of play nice, play ball, or you don't get credentialed. Right? It's not something official that's happening, but it kind of just does, right? Now, so I enjoyed the event. And we've had some announcements. One of them, you just mentioned it a little bit ago. I'm still hoping this is just fake and it's not really going to happen. I have my defenses up about it, but Pacquiao versus Barrios at 147. I just don't think Manny Pacquiao. I think it's time to hang him up. It is. And look, it's easy for me to tell Mario Barrios, man, don't fight Manny Pacquiao. He's an old, who knows how much money he's going to make, and it's big for his career. So I'm nobody to tell him, but I don't think any of these current world champions, high level contenders, should even entertain this. Where's your honor? Where's your pride? Where's your do you really want to beat up an old Manny Pacquiao, who, by the way, didn't look that good in an exhibition against a kickboxer not that long ago?
Was it last year, I think, or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And he took some real unnecessary punches. I'm with you. And look, we've also got to look at, hey, I know it's Manny Pacquiao, but is it 3 or 4 years since he's actually been in the ring?
And he looked good then. I mean, he looked good against. The last time he looked good was in 2019 against Keith Thurman. That was 6 years ago.
I agree.
So I don't know that this is not. I don't do the whole boycott thing. I just don't. But I will probably. I'm not going to use the word boycott, but I'm not going to watch if that fight happens.
No. Well, there's got to be some better fights out there for Barrios, surely. I mean, I understand he wants to fight the legend that is Manny Pacquiao, but first of all, he's not rated. He hasn't fought for about 4 years. He looked shocking when he lost to. Who was it? His last fight. What was his name?
You're talking about Ugas?
Ugas, yes, sorry. So he looked shocking against him as well. And in that exhibition last year, I know it's an exhibition and maybe he didn't train like he normally would for a fight, but I mean, 46 years of age. I just think all involved, especially his team, should be saying, Manny, this is enough. I understand he wants to keep fighting. I get that. But do we want a situation where we get to like Roy Jones Jr. and, where they just keep fighting and they're nearing 50 and, we all love Manny Pac-Man, the Pac-Man Manny Pacquiao, but not great. And not just that, just it flies in the face of everything we're supposed to be trying to clean up in boxing as far as ratings and everything go. And you've got a guy who hasn't fought for 4 years who can just walk into a world title fight. It's ridiculous. So I'm with you there, mate. I hope we don't see it. And there has been conflicting stories. First of all, that was happening, and then it was not happening because of the elections and all that over there. But either way, I don't care. I'm with you. I don't think I would want to see that fight at all.
Look, if Manny Pacquiao and apparently Floyd wants to keep getting back in the ring, if they want to do an exhibition for old time's sakes, they could do that. You know what I mean? They're both older fighters. Go out there, have fun, kind of like Ricky Hatton Barrera did. I know Chavez still does exhibitions, but
that's different. Yep.
Yeah, it's different. I go do something like that. You know what I mean? I just don't want to see him in a real professional fight. I remember even Floyd Mayweather, before his fight with Conor McGregor, they kept asking him, so are you going to come back after this? He's like, look, I'm done fighting real fighters. He literally said that. I'm done fighting real boxers. That's it. Like, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to come back and fight top guy. I'm done with that. I'm 40 plus years old. I'm done. Right. And true to his word, he's been fighting influencers and Logan Pauls and MMA fighters and all. So I'm glad he's now. I still think he should stay out of the ring, but that's his business. But I always thought they were gonna do an exhibition, Pacquiao Mayweather, and I think they would make more money doing an exhibition with each other than coming back and fighting a dangerous fight. I'm with
you. And the difference with Mayweather too, like you said, like one is in great condition for 48 years old, whatever it is. He's still looks like he could jump in there tomorrow. But what I liked about Mayweather is, like you just said then, he didn't make any secrets about what he was doing. He said, look, I know these aren't real fights. I know they're not the real thing, but this is what it is. He was totally transparent in what he was offering and what the event was and what the product was. And if you want to watch it, that's great. And if you don't want to watch it, then don't watch. He was upfront with everybody, and they still got into him, of course, about the whole thing. But I had no problem with that. And I actually think there could be if they had a smart promoter out there, that this would be a great little concept to have on the side when you have these fighters, like you said, with Hatton and Barrera, where, you know, they've obviously got to pass medical tests and be in certain condition and everything else, but match these former greats up against each other in exhibition fights. I think it'd be fantastic and keep them away from the, you know, the real fights, I suppose, because there's, you know, we all love our champions, and I think there's a real you know, maybe a need out there, or maybe the opportunity out there for all these past greats to, if they've still got that itch they want to scratch, put them in with each other and put on massive events. And like you just said before, they probably make more money than they would against real fighters and real champions anyway.
Nanda believes the announcement may not really be for us. PBC are the masters of bait and switch. Just ask Team Zoo. There's been a conspiracy out there that they knew all along it was to be Fundora, and they had him ready to go, and then Keith Thurman, that was the plan, to make him think so fight Keith Thurman and get him last minute. But it is important for people to know that wasn't it Team Zoo didn't Matt Rose suggest Fundora? If I got the story correct, and then
no, I don't think it was that. From what I read, is that PBC put Fundora to Team Zoo, and I think, look, Tim obviously said, yeah, I'll fight him in about 2 seconds. Probably not, you know, maybe the best decision they made, of course, but they're going against someone who was what's Thurman, about 5'8", 5'9", 5'7". Going there with someone who's, what's Fundora, about 6'6" or whatever the hell he is, but
he looks 6'7" to me when I saw him, but yeah, I think 6'6".
A big guy, isn't he? But lots of conspiracy theories out there, but I think we'll take him at their word. I don't know, with a grain of salt anyway.
Yeah, we interviewed him out in Vegas, and my friend was like this, interviewing Fundora.
He's a
like, this dude is tall. Like and you know what? The fact he's so skinny, so it makes him look even taller. Right? So he's 6'6", but he looks like 6'9", like if you look at him from a distance, because he's so
the original Slender Man, isn't he?
yeah. So like, and I still remember the face-off with Tim, so that was crazy. But so maybe it was a bait and switch. Maybe they knew all along. Maybe they knew Tim Zoo was just going to take it. Who knows, right? I don't know. But it's always fun to entertain those conspiracy theories.
Well, Tim was in a bit of a corner too, if you remember, because really he had no choice. Well, maybe he did, but he was over there. He was excited. It was his first big event, headline the T-Mobile Arena, something he'd always dreamed about. I think they could have put anyone in front of him. He was going to take it. I just think he thought he owed it to the fans and didn't want to waste the opportunity. And, yeah, it went a bit pear-shaped. But, yeah, I think in hindsight, I don't think he'd regret taking the fight. Obviously, what happened, the result-wise, he'd take back. But, you know, there was hundreds of Aussies over there, and he wanted to showcase not just to the Aussies there, but to the world and the headlining at T-Mobile Arena. So I don't think he'd regret that decision, but certainly he'd regret the result for sure.
Yeah, I think if we go all the way back to that end of that second round, the guy couldn't see. I mean, the fact that the ref and the doctors allowed it to continue, right? Everybody made it about the team, and I'm not saying there's everybody talked about that to death, right? But the fact that a doctor literally looked at him and was like, yeah, he's ready to go. Like, I mean, I still can't believe it. I'm like, what?
I'm the same. I cannot believe a doctor worth anything would look at that cut and say that he was okay to continue in a world title fight where he literally couldn't see. Now, you're right, we've all criticised his corner, and they deserve a lot of criticism because they should have stopped the fight regardless of what Tim was saying, by the way. He wanted to continue, but they should have said, hey, that's great, Tim. But the fight is over. But I cannot believe that a doctor worth anything would jump up in the ring, have a look at the cut, and say that he's right to go. It's ridiculous. And who knows what effect it had on boxing history as far as Tim Zoo goes. Hopefully he can get back on track and start off where he left. But
I just can't. I always think about that fight, and I think about that cut. And I'm like, the stars aligned perfectly for that scenario. I mean, I just that'll never happen again. I don't think. Like it landed right in the perfect spot, right? And I don't know what was it, like an artery or something. It hit something.
It was an artery.
So that caused it to bleed profusely, and it was and it trickled down perfectly down to the bridge of his nose and to both eyes. I mean, if it was just a little bit to the right, it just went to one eye, it would still be problematic, but at least maybe he could work with the other eye or something.
It was a little bit to the side. All he probably would have had was a bump on his head.
Yeah, like it's amazing to me, and fate is part of boxing, and
Boxing
Fedor took
gods,
advantage
yes.
of it.
Yeah, must have run over a black cat or something. Who knows? But
Man, I don't know. Whatever Tim Tszyu ate that day, I would never eat it again. It's bad luck.
yeah, I
I don't know what it
agree.
was. Whoever he cussed out, don't cuss out that person again. Like just leave it alone. But
And still lost a split decision. He literally had a blindfold on for the fight and still lost only a split decision. So
people get mad when I call it a crimson mask. And they're like, "Why do you call it a crimson mask?" Because it was. Like, what do you mean? But look, hopefully Manny Pacquiao doesn't come back. I don't want to see him back. I just don't.
no.
Like exhibition, I'll watch him. But not this. And then there was also just announced, freshly announced, Usyk, and he put it out, so we know it's not fake news. Usyk versus Dubois. I'm gonna be that dude, but I don't hate the fight, but I feel like it's a movie I already watched, and it was a result that was too decisive for me to be interested and get up for this fight. And I just don't understand, what is it about these British guys that get 2 cracks against Usyk? Like, he beats him, he's got to beat him again. And I wanted to see the Parker fight. I think Parker earned it. I think he's been in a hell of a run. He's been the underdog on several fights. He's not the one that pulled out of the Dubois fight. Dubois did, even if it's for understandable reasons. He just knocked out Bacoli. He's earned it at this point. And he's a former world champion. It's not like just some nobody. I wanted to see, and it's a fresh fight, a new challenge for Usyk, and I thought it would have been a great fight. But we're not getting it. We're going to get the Usyk fight instead.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, it's one of those things where the guy that deserves it is not getting the fight because of the bigger fight makes more sense, more money. And look, maybe the fact that Usyk just wants to be undisputed again by beating Dubois. I think that's probably the only thing I can think of is why he would be wanting to fight Daniel Dubois. Now, I know he looked great against Anthony Joshua, but the fact he's got the belt, I think, is the only reason. I think we would all agree, or arguably we'd agree, that Joseph Parker deserves his shot. The only unfortunate thing is the timing, and that is Daniel Dubois. He's just got the IBF belt. He didn't fight in January, whatever it was. Not Joseph Parker's fault, of course. But by rights, everyone should have got together and said, mate, you pulled out against Parker, so you've just foregone your right to a fight with Usyk. We're going to give it to Parker. But unfortunately, in boxing, that doesn't really matter, does it? It's who should get the fight doesn't necessarily matter, does it? But look, I understand that he's going to fight Dubois. I understand the reasonings behind it, but I do feel for Joseph Parker. The only thing I could probably think of is Turki Al Sheikh said to Team Parker, hey, look, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. We'll get you on as the main support fight. We'll get you in a very, very winnable fight. We're going to pay you very, very well. We're going to pay you overs. Then we'll put you in with Usyk after that. And maybe Joseph Parker said, you know what? Okay, it's going to be an extra, 8, 9, 10 months, whatever it is, but I'm going to get a payday. I'm going to get another good fight, and I'm going to get my shot against the winner so I can be patient. That's the only thing I can think of. But, I mean, by rights, Parker should have this fight. It's just the timing just hasn't worked out for him, unfortunately. But who knows what might happen with the IBF, though? Are they going to step in and mandate Derek Chisora over Usyk? We'll see. Even the IBF couldn't be that stupid, could they? But, I feel for Parker, but I do understand why they put the fight together.
Well, I mean, the IBF picked Skull over Canelo, so who knows, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And another thing that's just it's not that I don't understand, but I hate it. So Usyk's the undisputed champion. Like, in my book, like he didn't lose. Like, nobody beat him. But now, he's going to become a 2-time undisputed. Like, what are we doing? Like, what? I get that technically speaking, he doesn't have the IBF now, and if he beats the ball, he'll have the IBF again. But in my mind, like, it's like, why didn't you just have Usyk mandated to fight Dubois after he beat Fury?
Because that would be too easy.
Because that's really all that's all that's happening. That you just did it the opposite. It's all you did, and now it's going to be a 2-time undisputed. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think to be a 2-time or 3-time, whatever it is, you've actually got to lose the belt or the belt in the ring and then reclaim them. That is a 2-time champion, not being stripped of it and then winning it back. And so I don't think that really counts being 2-time. All he's done is reclaim what's his. But you're right. The logical thing would have been is the IBF to say, okay, well, after you beat Fury, you either have to fight Dubois or then we're going to strip you. Not, oh, well, we'll just fight one of the biggest heavyweight fights of all time. And then as a reward for winning that fight, we're going to take the belt away from you. It's ridiculous. And then I'm actually surprised that Daniel Dubois has the nerve to actually get up with the IBF belt. If I was him, I'd be putting it in the cupboard and saying, I'm not the champion until I beat Usyk. That's what I would be saying.
I mean, what are we doing? Look, I can respect fighters when they say, look, I got to beat this guy to earn this, right? And even fighters that I'm not the biggest fan of have done it. So, like when, to her credit, when Sky Nicholson won the interim WBC title, she did say, well, I got to beat Serrano. Like, I have to beat Serrano in order to really call myself champion. Now, later on, obviously, Serrano didn't fight her, and she wasn't going to do the, she moved up to fight Tater. So, obviously, Sky kind of moved on from that, but at least she made the attempt, right? At least there was an attempt to say, well, but Dubois did the opposite. Dubois was just like, oh, I'm the champ. Like, bro, you got stopped by Usyk, bro.
Well, that's the thing. It's not like he hadn't even fought Usyk in the past. I think a year earlier he'd been stopped by Usyk, and he's still up there saying he's a champion. So yeah, a little bit of nerve there from Dubois.
And I just, and then not only that, like I don't, and I know like Nando started with the conspiracy theories, right? And Nando's saying that they're gonna do an event with Pacquiao's name on it, have everybody buy the tickets, buy the plane, and then Pacquiao's gonna get injured, and they're gonna insert somebody else. That's the PBC move, he says. So we'll see if that happens. But it says, well, conspiracy theories. I'm starting to think Dubois wasn't really sick before the Parker fight. That's what I'm trying to think.
That was a bit dubious, wasn't it?
Yeah, because like when you pull out, I don't know. I just feel like we're rewarding the wrong things. Like, so he got sick. He called in sick for the fight. Doesn't do the fight. Parker's the one who, look, I get it, but Cody came in kind of out of shape. He wasn't ready, but Parker didn't know that. Like, he just knew he was going to have to get ready for Bacoli, right? So he takes a risk in doing it. He put his title shot at risk by fighting Bacoli. He wins. The other guy, Dubois, didn't put it at risk. And he gets rewarded with the fight. And there's the type of things that really bother me about the sport, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And I think the conspiracy theorists were out there, weren't they, straight away that soon as I think Usyk might have leaked on social media, did he, that he was looking at Dubois next, and strangely within a couple of days he got sick just like that. So look, it doesn't surprise you in this world of boxing, though, does it? But it's not fair sometimes, but end of the day, it's a business, and they've got to take the fights that make the most money, and this is it. And Usyk probably wanted the fight over the Parker fight because he gets that belt back. And it's probably a little bit like Canelo with Skull. I don't think he really wants to fight William Skull, but he wants that IBF belt, which shouldn't have been taken from him either, by the way. But anyway, that's again, they've got a bit of nerve, haven't they, the IBF, to strip Usyk of undisputed and Canelo of undisputed. You've got to give it to them. They've got the ball.
But now, like, think about life is about incentives, right? So now they've been incentivized, right, to do it because now they're gonna get these big fights, Dubois, Usyk, and Wembley. They're gonna get Canelo versus Skull in Saudi. So there's a lot of big money there. So what's stopping the other sanctioning bodies from just doing it all the time, right? And are they really going to be like, I want fighters to get stripped when they're refusing to fight the rightful number one contender, when they're refusing to fight the rightful mandatory. That's when when it's like blatant and they're clearly not going to fight them. That's when they should be stripped, right?
Well, that's like Canelo, isn't it? If he was at the WBC, if anyone should have been the ones to strip him for not fighting Benavides, but they're not the ones that stripped him. It was the IBF.
It was the IBF. And then but there's a caveat with stripping somebody, right? Not only yes, they got to be the mandatory and they got to be the number one, but like, how did they become the mandatory? What for? What reason? Who did they beat? Like like to this day, nobody could articulate why Skull was that dude. Like, why was he the guy that you're going to strip Canelo for? Exactly. Like, who did Skull really beat? Like that. And that's the problem I have with the rankings. Like we have a bunch of super middleweights that were not involved in this mix in the IBF that crowned Skull the number one guy, quite frankly. So I don't know. Like, what I mean? Why didn't Benavidez go the IBF route?
Yeah, good call.
I don't know. Who knows? But they're doing it. We're coming full circle for them to fight the champion anyway. So they could have waited for them to just fight for the undisputed. So it's the way I see it.
It never makes sense, does it? It just doesn't make sense. But that's the sanctioning bodies. They all have their own little quirks, I suppose. But I'll never understand it. Some of the decisions they make. I mean, even Jai Pattaya was the other one, wasn't he? Yep. With his IBF belt as well. They stripped him and he literally fought for it a few months later. So it doesn't make sense.
The Jai one was just blatantly stupid. I'm sorry. Like that was one of the dumbest ones I ever seen, but it's whatever. You know what I mean? Was that the IBF as well?
Yeah, IBF. Yep.
I don't know. I don't understand it. And the other thing is that when it comes to the IBF, I don't know. I guess there's all sanctioned bodies, but they kind of pick and choose. You know what I mean? So when it comes to like Errol Spence, I think he had one mandatory, and like for 5 years, they never mandated him again. Which like it just didn't make sense. So I don't know, but I think all of them are hypocrites. Let me get somebody on here right now. The one and the only, I think she's on. Desley Robinson, how are you doing?
Morning. How are you guys?
Morning.
We're doing really good. Really good. And look at her showing off the gold right there. You know what I mean?
There they are.
It's a lot of shining gold. I could barely see. You know what I mean?
Too much gold.
It's too much. It's too much gold right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm doing a bit of promo at the gym here with our Powerhouse Gym, and I brought them in, so I thought I'll set them up today just for today as well. So kill two birds with one stone. But yeah, they're very very nice and shiny. So
very nice.
The blue one's heavier. I'm just going by what I see, or no?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I just finished training, so mine's are pretty sore. I think the blue one does feel a bit heavier. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're so nice. Far out.
All right. So a couple of things. First of all, thank you for coming on. How was training earlier today?
Yeah, good. We're obviously we like to keep fit between fights, so we're just sort of in weight training at the moment. But yeah, we'll still keep. Obviously, we've got a few things in the works, going backwards and forwards. So I like to stay training. I like training. So yeah, just working on the muscles at the moment and just sort of enjoying it. Not that I don't enjoy it, but yeah, just taking it nice and easy. So yeah, because before we know it, we'll be back in camp, and yeah, we just ready to rumble.
Ready to rumble. I want to go back a little bit to December. So you had the rematch with K. Scott. It was at a no limit card. How was that experience? Did it feel next level to you, like being on a no limit card compared to other cards and it being televised and everything? How was that experience?
Yeah, definitely. I've fought on No Limits before in 2019 against Stephanie McFarland. And then I was like, oh man, this is huge, like the setup and smoke and the lights and the TV and whatnot. But I wasn't on TV for that first fight. But this next one, or the most recent one in December against Kay, I was. So that made a really big difference, obviously having a bit more exposure, being televised. And No Limits they're quite popular in Australia and everyone sort of knows who they are. So to be on that and to get broadcasted in everyone's lounge rooms was really good. But like now I get pulled up in the street after that fight a lot more. I went to the zoo on the weekend and I had a few people pull me up there like, oh, great fight. And So it's, yeah, it is a great bonus being, yeah, on everyone's TV. So that's what we need. We need the exposure. Being females, we just don't get enough.
Desley, do you think that it's obviously Australian here in Australia with all the No Limit shows and everything else? Do you think that No Limit, I did mention this last week, maybe haven't done enough as far as the female fighters go? As far as I understand, they put them on most of their cards. Do you think they've done enough to get behind fighters like yourself and Sky and Shanika and even Shannon, who's not a No Limit fighter? She has fought on their shows before, but all those, well, yourself and the other two, haven't actually been signed by No Limit. You've all been with other promoters. I think they've sort of missed the boat a little bit by not getting behind the world champion females like yourself.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Like, I'm very appreciative of what they've done. Obviously, they put girls on. They do have a good mix of girls that they put on, but obviously there always is room for more. I do feel with their platform that they have, and they're Australian, why not back your backyard girls? Because you're going to get other promoters coming in from overseas, which we've had offers. They're going to come in and snatch us up. And then in Australia, they could very well fizzle out and go, oh, damn, that could have been us, Not saying that could happen, but there's a high possibility that the Australia girls are going to look elsewhere. And other people, if we're getting noticed from America, the UK, I think that's saying something like, come on, guys, like, let's really get behind us because, yeah, we're doing really good. Those females are absolutely killing it. We're tough. We're exciting. There's a lot of great looking females as well. So there's a lot of marketable women and there's room to move. Like, they're silly if they don't. So, but I mean, everyone's got a plan. I don't know what their end goal is. I don't know what they're trying to do. But if I was an Aussie promoter, I'd be right up behind the girls.
On the weekend too, there was Viviana Ruiz won the interim, was it light flyweight title, and that was promoted by, I think, Lou DiBella, I think, wasn't it? That wasn't even on any streaming platform or TV, nothing. So there's another one they've missed out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's an amazing fighter. And she's been like chipping away for years. So, you just need that one sort of breakthrough with a massive promoter or some sort of breakthrough just to go, wow, this is what this girl's about. Like, look at all the hard work she's done. But yeah, it is a shame, like, we really, really need some more exposure. Like, I don't know what else we need to do. We get in there, we give it our all, we're exciting, we fight somewhat, there's some guy fights that the women fight better than them, so I don't know.
So it seemed to me like if because that card in December, right? It was you versus Kay Scott. You had Chan O'Connell versus Jazzy Parr. And did you notice what I noticed? Like, it seemed to me that all the attention in terms of like people's attention, like what they were paying attention to, was your fights, the women fights. Like, nobody really cared about them. I'll be honest with you, Lyndon. Can you name any of the male fights from that day right now, off the top of your head?
I think that was the Brock Jarvis event, wasn't
Jarvis
it?
fight, yeah.
That's a very good question. No, I don't from memory. Callum Peters might have been on that card from memory.
Callum Peters. Now, to his defense, his opponent got injured, so they kind of found somebody last minute, but
it was his debut, I think, from memory.
So like my point is, everyone remembers the women fights. Like, no one's going to be like, oh, who did Chan O'Connell fight? I don't remember. Like nobody's going to say that, right? Well, Desley Robinson, she fought some girl. Like people remember the fights. They know the fight.
Do. Yeah, they really do.
So do you think like they're missing the boat in terms of like that there's some real legitimate attention that the women can get to help their promotional company as well?
Yeah, it just cut out that last bit, but 100%. I think like I said before, they're silly if they don't. Like, and the most recent fight night I fought on with Sam Labruna, we were main event. So two women fighting for a unification world title fight, the IBF and WBO. Like, that is massive. And we were on as main event, and everyone was like, "Oh, what? Girls are on main event?" And they loved it. We put on a great show. So Sam's onto it. Sam LeBrun at Fight Night. And yeah, like, I don't know why. Come on, guys, get onto it.
But KO wouldn't have been too happy about that, would he? Having to be relegated to the undercard, would he?
Oh, I know. He's really cool, though. I was like, oh, sorry about that.
I just thank you, KO.
Yeah, he's so cool. But he was fine about it. So it was good. I did tell him to come up and do a shoey with me, but yeah, he didn't do that. So next one.
Well, look. So let's talk about the Chloe Chaos fight. How did you feel in the fight? Was it, like, how did you feel in the fight? Like, did you feel good?
Yeah, good. I think because there was so much pressure on fighting at Southpaw, and we went to New Zealand, we did a fight camp over there, we came back, we did rounds with Anthony Mundine, he jumped into the Southpaw stance for me. We were everywhere, we were jet setting everywhere, getting as much as we can. And then I think on the fight night, like, it was good. She came out hard and she knew what she was, what she was in for. They've obviously studied, and credit to her, she trained her butt off, and she really gave it a good crack. Like, a lot of people say, oh, Des is going to knock Chloe out. She's going to do this. I didn't really feel I needed to knock her out. I mean, I let go towards the end because I thought, you know what, I actually really enjoyed myself in that fight. I think the more fights you get at that high level, the more experience you get, the more calm you get. I did feel quite controlled. I felt, quite controlled, ready. And I sort of said to Chris before, I'm like, I'm not nervous like I usually get before the fights. He said, look, you've done this many a times, enjoy it. So we're at a point now where we are enjoying it. And in between each round, we would come back and we were still working between each round. So we'd come back in the corner and say, okay, let's try and do this a little bit more. Let's do that a little bit more. It wasn't like, yeah, you're winning, It was, we were still game planning. We were still doing, strategies. And I feel like Kudov went a bit more crazier because that's what the crowd, they wanted. That's what they wanted us to go to war. But yeah, I've had lots of battles that have been wars, and I just didn't feel I needed to go super crazy and stupid. But you still need to be wary of, the Southpaw with the hooks. So I felt fit. I felt really, really good. So, and it was different too because my fight camp before I had a fractured foot, so couldn't run, couldn't spar. So I was like, damn, I'm actually fit. Like, Chris is like, I've been telling you this the whole time. Like,
Desley, how do you go with balancing the family? That's what I've always wondered. I mean, you obviously you've got to go through your fight camp. You've got, I think, is it 3 kids you've got?
Oh, yeah, 3 kids. Yeah. So
how do you go managing all that with your training and everything?
It's crazy. So we get up in the morning. I'll get all the kids ready, drop them off at school, drop them off at daycare. I go do my morning sessions. They'll, depending on what I'm doing, whether it's a cardio, the strength work, do all that. If I need to get like a bit of recovery in, I try and do that. Obviously, the recovery is what sort of lacks because to me that's like a little reward. But I sort of think like if I can skip out on that, then I can go home and then I can do the dishes, I can clean the house, I can do the washing before I've got to pick up all the kids. I feel like the thing that suffers is my recovery, and obviously the nutrition side of it is like you've got to do your cooking, you have to have your meal prep. It's absolutely madness, and that's where I do in between, from say 10 till, I don't know, maybe 11 till 1 is like that little gap where I've got to myself. So the afternoons, I'll do my afternoon training, pick all the kids up. I bring them to sparring. They come on weekends to my sparring. So some nights I don't get home till, 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. You've got dinner, bath, bed, sort them all out, spend time with them. It does take a lot from the family, but it's all they've known. My son's grown up with me. That's his whole life knowing that this is mum's job. So it's organized chaos, but we make it happen. So
what do they think of mum
Organized
being a
chaos.
professional fighter? Sorry, D-Style.
I was just going to repeat what you said. She said organized chaos. I like that.
Chaos. Yeah. I think it's a little bit like ADD, organized chaos, so we make it work.
Go ahead, Linda. I think you were going to have some.
Sorry, D. I was just going to say, how do the kids like their mum being a professional fighter?
Yeah, my son loves it. He got interviewed on Channel 9 the other day, and you can tell that it's quite emotional for him, because he's seen me through all of my battles. Like we moved to Brisbane, we had nothing. Like, like I walked away from a relationship and I started over, and it's just been me and my son. Like we got in the car and we took off and we came to Brizzy, and I didn't have a fridge, I didn't have a lounge, I didn't have a bed. We had a bean bag and like a Boston TV that didn't work. I set it up and we just played outside until like I got everything going. So he's been through all of that, and now it's sort of at the point where it's paying off. And yeah, so for him, it's massive. Like he couldn't even answer it. Like the news reporter was saying, how do you feel about him? He just choked up. So obviously he's proud, and he'll come up to me randomly and say, "Mum, I love you, Mum." Like so. Yeah, it's good, and the girls are getting a little bit older. They're 3 and 4 now, so they're still quite young, but my 4-year-old will come up, she says, "Mum, I'm going to be a boxer like you." And yeah, so it's good to sort of inspire them, and they're understanding it now. So I don't think all the chaos is that bad, because they see what the reward from it. They see that, oh, I'm getting a smoothie here. Look at this for service. Thank you. How good. um, yeah, so they see the reward from what hard work gets you. So yeah, they love it. They love the shirts, I think, more so. Walk around with my mum on the shirt.
So if I can go back, as back in like early 2024, right? You had that first fight with K Scott,
Yeah.
and I don't know anyone who thought she won other than the judges, but that's whatever. But like, I thought you
Oh, cut
clearly
out.
won that fight. Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
You're gone.
Oh, I don't know. Linda, can you hear me?
I can hear you, mate. Can you hear me, Desley, or not? No.
Hang on. Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
Lyndon, I got you, but not D-Star. Oh no.
You're good. I can hear me. That's all right. What were you
Let
going to ask me?
me. Yeah. So I'll ask. Well,
I
Lyndon will
lost
just,
him. Oh.
I guess, do a
I'll
what do you
pass
call
on,
that?
Desley. I'll pass on what he's
Yeah,
So
he's
asking.
about to do. He's still
I just want to
loading.
know, like,
I don't know why.
what was the feeling when she did not get that decision, when most feel that she clearly won, right? And what was going through her mind, like when that happened, after going through all that?
Yeah, just wanted to know, Desley, when the first fight you lost to K Scott, what was going through
Yeah,
your mind in that fight? We all thought he looks like he's gone. It looks like it's the Lyndon
he's
and
gone.
Desley show on the
Yay!
East Coast channel. But what
Oh
did you
yeah,
think of
we're
that? I
taking
mean,
over.
most people thought you
Oh,
won the
thank
fight.
you.
What were your thoughts on that first K Scott fight?
Crazy. So yeah, like we in that fight, like same sort of thing. Like
Oh, now we lost Desley. I
it
think.
wasn't.
No,
I
she's
didn't
back.
feel like there was anything. Oh, I'm
Are
back.
you back? It's okay. It's all good.
You're back.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that fight. I didn't. Oh yeah. Yeah, so I felt like I won. I felt like I did enough. I don't know whether it was a plan for the long run. I'm not saying there was dodgy scoring. The scoring was pretty bad. I just not there's just not one person that has said, hey, yeah, she won that. Black and white, she won that. Like everyone, and I'm talking like people all over the world. So people I don't even know, Kay supporters, some of her supporters have said, hey, yeah, you won that. So I didn't want to carry on about it. I didn't want to be a sore loser. So, you know what? I'll get you back tenfold. I'll do it bigger and better next time. Um, with that one, I thought, you make sure you do more. Never leave it in the judge's hands, because you don't know what fight they're watching. Perhaps they were thinking, she come off games, she's Olympian, maybe they were just focused on how she was going to perform on the night, and they'd already seen me fight. So maybe they weren't really watching me. I don't know. So yeah, in my mind, and I feel like any other boxer would feel the same as me, that yeah, we did win. So, but hey, look where we are now. So I don't really care about
Can you hear me now, by the way?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right, cool, cool. All right. That's why I jumped off and jumped back
Yeah.
on. So,
Oh, wait.
now, so now the rematch, you win that fight. I felt you clearly won. Although I actually think
Yeah.
the rematch was, even though I
Oh,
thought
he's
you clearly
gone.
won,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I thought it was closer, the rematch. But so were you nervous at all before they announced the verdict, the decision?
Yeah, look, I always get nervous. So whether even the last fight with Chloe, I was like, you're not thinking about the scores. I was like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. All my sponsors, you've got so much running through your head. You just finished. Um, I wasn't, yeah, nervous. Yeah, I don't know. I think I never celebrate too early because you just never know. And I thought with the world title fight with Kay, I thought, you know what, you never know. She was a favorite last time. I felt
Mm.
like I had a little bit more backing and support coming into the fight, the rematch with her. I had a lot of people backing me, saying, "Hey, get it this time. You won last time. You're going to win again." But we never celebrate too early. So even with the Chloe fight, the scores, it was unanimous. And I thought, oh yeah, I'll do my shoey, and then Chris said, "Hey, just you never know. Like, just wait, win it first, then celebrate after." So
Everyone loves
that's
the
always
shoe.
in my mind. Oh, I know. It's a hot beer. I need to get a nice cold beverage. So if anyone's out there that wants to get in my shoey,
Desley, who are
um,
some of your role models in the sport? Some of the heroes you've sort of grown up with. Has it been boxing been a part of your life, sort of growing up? Is it a new thing? And as I said, who are the role models and some of the heroes that you admire in boxing?
yeah, I love Mike Tyson. He's my favorite. Yeah, one day I want to meet him. There was, yeah, growing up in the earlier days, because I'd started boxing quite young. Costa Zoo was huge then. I'd always followed Costa Zoo, Danny Green, especially, Danny Green being an Aussie. Um, yeah, and then sort of as we've progressed, yeah, like everyone loves Mike Tyson, but yeah, I do feel like, yeah, Costa Zoo and Danny Green were the
Any
idols growing
females?
up. Not such in boxing. Yeah, the females, yeah, not as much. I think I followed more the guys, because when I started boxing, the females weren't big at all. So they
Mm.
like I couldn't name any back then when I was 14. I did a lot of athletics growing up, so I think I'm showing my age here. So I, follow a lot of the Olympians, the Australian Olympians. I wanted to be an Olympian, first and foremost, and then my journey sort of took me into from athletics to rugby league to football, after football to boxing. And then that's where we've stayed. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, definitely followed the men more than the women. But yeah, now that the women are, they're up and coming, there's a lot of great women out there, and they're absolutely killing it. And if that's one thing that I can do is to bring the women up with me and say, hey, I did it when it was almost taboo for a girl to fight. Like, oh, she's no girls are going to get me. And even sparring, like, oh, female, like, and then you get in there and you prove your point. They go, oh, damn, she means business.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for that because it made us work harder. And a lot of the other girls in the boxing can relate to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, a fight I want to ask you about is Lanny Daniels. Do you want that rematch?
Yeah, look, I will definitely, I will always fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. I feel I went up 2 weight divisions,
Mhm.
but if she wants to come down to my weight, into, happy, throw it all on the line, like me and Lani, we're, great friends, we get along, we've got a lot of respect for each other. And a great thing with Lani too, whether I'm fighting someone else, she'll always wish me well. And that's something that I really want all the women to do, like wish each other well. We're all doing the same thing, like back each other. So, despite having that relationship with her, end of the day, this is our job. This is business, purely business. Afterwards, go back to being friends in the ring. Your enemies in the ring. One person's walking away the winner. One person's going to get hurt. So, yeah, I do feel if anyone's keen, yeah, come to my level because I've worked my butt off to be in here. I've fought lighter. I fought, was it super welterweight, the division under? Fought at 67 kilos. I've gone back to middleweight, then I've gone up 2 weight divisions. So I've done the hard yards in the weight division, and look where we are now in the middleweight. So I'm not moving from middleweight. I'm staying.
If you could pick anyone, Desley, who would you choose to fight out there now? There has been a bit of word about Carissa Shields, which should be it, or is there anyone else you'd like to fight? If you had a all lined up, who would you pick?
Yeah, obviously Clarissa Shields, because it's a massive opportunity, massive exposure, and obviously the pay packet, the paycheck, whatever you call it, the purse, the purse would be worth fighting for. Win or lose with her, you would obviously presume that you would get looked after fighting someone like that. And in Australia, it's what we're missing. We're missing the money, we're missing the exposure, we're missing the backing. We've got Aussie girls going over there and doing just as good as, the Americans and the girls from the UK, but we just don't get the exposure. But I think Clarissa Shields is definitely on the cards, but obviously in middleweight, I think she's a bit heavier at the moment. Anyone really, we've got a couple. There's a Mexican and another American that's sort of in the works at the moment. Like I said, we've had a couple offers here and there, but we're just weighing up options now. So obviously we're at the level where we've got to take, we take fights that do my career justice. If they're at the level and the ratings, and definitely anyone. So
So when it comes to Shields, because obviously she's never lost it as a pro, you'll have a hard time finding her losing rounds. Right? That's how good she is, right? You don't have to go into detail or anything or give away anything, but are there things you feel you could do that she has not seen before?
100%. I'm still not satisfied with how I fight. There's still a lot of work that you're your own worst critic, but I watch my fights back and I think, oh man, move your head, do this, do that, sit on your punches. At each fight camp, we work on new things. So depending on who you're fighting, those reflects how your fight goes, like with Kay, for instance. I love to sit on my punches. I love to land the right hand. I couldn't really do that. I had to pressure her because she can't handle the pressure. I had to keep it in her face, and that's not how I want to fight. I want to get the big punches. I want to get the big knockouts and use some of my strengths finally. I feel like with Clarissa, that's a fight where we both sit on our punches and someone would, probably get knocked out in that fight. So, I feel there's a lot that I can improve on, and I'm not, I'm 37, but I'm not an old fighter. I feel quite young. I'm fit. I look after myself. So I'm still improving and I still feel fresh. So there's a lot of room to grow. And I feel, this next level, this next fight, whoever it is, we will bring out what we've been, working on and get the chance to show off a bit more talent. So, yeah.
Sorry, D-Style. Go ahead, mate.
I was going to say, I know you mentioned that, you've done the work, you've gone down in weight, you've gone up in weight, and now you kind of settled in, you put in the work, and now you have the WBO, IBF belts, you have half of the belts at middleweight, so that's great. But would you be willing to move up? I know you said it for Lenny Daniels, maybe she should come down in the rematch, but for like Clarissa Shield, would you be willing to go up like to fight her at heavyweight or light heavyweight for a fight like that?
Yeah, look, if there was titles on the line, definitely. I think she still holds 2 in the middleweight from memory. I believe. So if obviously with her titles up in the heavier division, if it was what's the difference? I've got 2 in middleweight. She's got belts. I would go up. But if the money's right, the titles are right, then definitely. So I think now we're at a point where we don't need to scramble and just say yes to everyone. And we're at the point now where we can really do what's best for us, career-wise, money-wise, and sort of look at the long-term, result from what we're trying to achieve.
Desley, I want to ask you about your training. I mean, obviously, I know the Australian scene pretty well, and I know that it's hard, with the getting the training partners or sparring partners, whatever it is, especially at your weight. There's obviously a lot around at the lighter weights. How do you go with getting decent sparring, and what do you do with your training camps? And is it mainly the men that you have to spar with, or do you bring people in? How does it work?
Yeah, look, I've always sparred men. We've got a few of the boys in the gym, a few heavyweights. So I spar them, and they work with me with, they're not going to go crazy. Everyone works in together with each other, but majority is men. We've got Shay Keneally, who's also a world champ. She's great spar. She's tall as well. We both walk around at similar weights. So we go to Fidel's gym at Fight Club down at Burleigh. We spar with her a lot, and then jump in with the boys. So yeah, a lot of it is the guys. I mean, I love sparring the men because you can go quite hard on them. But it's saying that it's good to spar the girls just to get a little bit of confidence as well. So the men and the women definitely fight different. Towards the end of the camp, we spar men all the way through, and obviously Shay. And she's the same. She has to spar the guys as well. And it can sort of, when you are sparring men, you think, oh man, did I do good enough? Was it, no, I got hit then. So your confidence does drop a little bit. But then when you throw a girl in there, you think, oh, no, I'm good, So it's a balance of when to spar the girls, when to spar the men, what stage you're at. But we went to New Zealand, and we went over there and sparred the girls over there. So they're really good. They're tough in New Zealand. But in saying that costs money. We had to pay. We had to pay for sparring, pay them to get in the ring with me. Yeah, we had to pay them to get in the ring with me. So it's like everything costs money. And if you're not backed by a really good sponsor, have a good team behind you, then you don't get those opportunities at all. So yeah.
And obviously it'd be great to go to the UK or the USA, wouldn't it, as well? That's obviously, it all costs money, but
yeah. 100%. Yeah, we're really going to get over there.
So by the sound, it's really tough to find girls your size to spar, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 70, 72, 75. It's a balance between, obviously the middleweight. I'm quite tall as well. So yeah, I mean, height doesn't really matter, but yeah, I do feel like I am a bigger girl for sparring and such. So you could get a girl that's 69 kilos, but she's like this tall. So it's like, But yeah, I mean, you work in with what you've got, so you can work on certain things. So we make it work.
When did you decide, what do you recall about when you made the decision that you're going to be a boxer? That this is what you're going to do for a living? When made you decide that?
Yeah, look, obviously I wanted to do, I've always been in sport. I've been quite athletic. I always wanted to live the life of a full-time athlete. And I mean, certain things happen in your life, and you start from scratch, and you have kids and you whatnot. So I thought, will I make it? And I just thought, like I said, certain things happen. I thought, you know what, stop this. I can do this. Like, I'm going to show the people who doubted me and tried to make my life difficult that I'm going to get up there and I'm going to do what I set out to do, kids in tow. And we did that. But like I said, it comes down to, not comes down to, but what helps is sponsorship, because there isn't a lot of money in there. And I'm fortunate enough that going through my whole journey, I've had people that have followed me from day one, seeing the struggles, seeing the achievements, seeing what we've done, and they've jumped on board, which is really good. So, and then we got to a point where I was working 3 jobs. I was personal training. I had 2 kids under 2. I had my son. I was a single mother. I don't get any help from anyone else. I do the mum, the dad, the role, everything. So that was quite hard. So personal training, concreting, and boxing at the same time. So I was just running myself to the ground, and I was fortunate that, my sponsor Jim from New Start Development said, hey, something's got to change. And it was after the Lani Daniels fight. So even then, I took my kids then, I jumped out of the ring and went straight and changed to nappy. So I still had my wraps on. I just fought for a world title and came down, and the kids were like, Mom. And then I was like, oh, damn, I'll change nappy. And I was like, go out there. enjoy it. So yeah, at the moment now, I feel we're in a really good position. I'm still wanting, wanting better. I think I'll always want the best and keep striving for the best. But yeah, I feel like now we're I'm full time. I'm not concreting anymore, and I'll do the odd PT session here and there, but um, yeah, we just live and breathe boxing now. And at that point, obviously, I was like, man, this something has to give. So yeah, sort of all
Hey,
just
Jesse,
fell
what
into
do you think
place.
about the 2-minute rounds versus 3-minute rounds?
I'm not doing 3 minute rounds though. I
You don't like
Pay me
threes?
more.
oh yeah. Look, I'll do it. I mean, depending on where you are, like if you're not fit and you're doing 2 minute rounds, you think, man, this is so hard. I do feel the 3 minute rounds would give us, as much as I don't want to do 3 minute rounds, I'm being lazy here. Um, I feel like the 3 minute rounds really would give us more time to shine, more time to get in, to get settled. But in saying that, like I always fight 10 rounds. So,
Mm.
like why not make them 3 minutes, and then that can really, yeah, you've got more time to show what you're made of. So I mean, if it happens, I'll do it. If not, I'll cruise along in 2 minutes. Like,
I I have to I have to ask you about this. I don't know if it's an Australian thing. I don't know. I don't know. Right, but it is what it is. Why are you pouring whatever you're pouring on that shoe and drinking it? What's
Louis.
going on? Is that how y'all party in Australia? Like I don't like. I'm not thinking of my shoe and pouring anything on it and drinking. That's just me. But can
yeah.
you explain what that's all about?
Yeah, look, I think everyone was doing. We had Bam Bam doing it in the UFC, and it's just sort of like an iconic thing. You go to like a country music festival in Australia, everyone's drinking out of their boots. You've got singers on stage drinking out of their boots. I think it's just like is she going to do the shoey? Is she not going to do the shoey? And then, oh man, she just fought 10 rounds in that shoe. Like, um, it's yeah, I feel like it's an Aussie Vogan thing.
An Aussie thing.
It's an Aussie thing. But yeah, I
Okay.
mean, we
What
we
is
can
in the
we might.
shoeing?
What is in the shoey? Anything at the moment. So whatever there is, I did a hot beer in my last shoey. So look, I'm looking for if there's a supplement company out there that wants to put something nice and refreshing in there, go for it. I've just been sponsored by a
And
supplement
this
company, so I'm
is
sure we've got something in the works.
it's
Um,
win, lose, or draw. You're gonna do the shoeing. Is that like the thing?
no,
Only if you
only when
win.
you win. Only
Okay.
yes, Linda, yes. You've got to
We've got to,
win.
really put the Aussie stamp on it by putting Foster's or something in there, don't we? That's all VB or something.
VB, I mean, oh,
And that
anything's
makes you
for the
go,
dream.
not the boo, no, not that, the brand
Not
of
the dirty
beer.
shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
like I forget and I wear my shoe to training and I'm like, oh, I drank out of this shoe. My coach is like, oh, Des.
So okay. Well, hey, I remember watching that the first time I saw it, I'm like, nah, they're swapping out that shoe or something, right?
No,
You don't have
straight
like a
off
shoe
the
in
shoe.
you don't swap it out with a clean one or something? Like nobody
Yeah,
knows it?
yeah. I didn't even have my own socks for this fight, the recent fight. So I brought new socks and they were real slippery and I had new shoes and I was like, oh no. And one of the guys that was in my corner, Aiden, he's like, you're gonna have to wear my socks. So we swapped just before and lucky I had his socks on. So but then I did the shoey with his socks. So he walked around all day in them socks.
I was
And then
about
I
to
wore them in
ask.
my fight.
Oh.
Yeah. Not very classy, but it's
Yeah,
all
that's gonna
fun.
intimidate some opponents. I'm gonna tell you right now, like, whoa, shoot, did what? But
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so because I was about to ask, like, it only works if it's your socks and your shoes, but apparently not, it could. The
You
cocktail
just
could
never.
be done in different ways, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. I think I'm all good. I hope.
like, it might help your immune system. I don't know. You know what I mean? But
Lucky I'm healthy.
so
I think
we
you're
got
sweating so much anyway, like just after. So yeah,
okay.
it's so
When did
funny.
that start? By the way, was it just like? Do you remember the first time you did after a fight?
Oh, when was that? Not the first No Limits. I can't remember the first one I did.
Okay.
Oh, I did Jamie Myers Fight Night, Australian title against Jamie Edenin at the Gold Coast. I I was just so excited, and I thought, you know what? If I win, I said I'm going to drink out of my shoe like everyone else does. And then I was like, no, you won't. And I won. I was like, yep, we did it. And then it just kept going from there. So the crowd loved it, and yeah, I mean, when you win a belt and a title, you're on cloud nine. So yeah,
So you just said when everyone else does it. So like everyone in Australia does this. It's like a
it was quite popular back when I won the Australian title. I think
okay.
I've just carried it on a bit
Who was
longer than
the
everyone
was
else.
there a Formula One driver, Des? I think one of the UFC guys was doing it as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, Bam.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does it. He's an Aussie bloke, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so he did
But
it.
he's not fighting with his shoes on. They're barefoot.
No, I think he just grabbed a shoe.
I think he
So
gets
anyone,
someone out of the crowd, D style. He grabs someone's shoe
crowd.
out of the crowd and
Oh
does
no! What are we doing over there in Australia? What's going
What
on?
are we doing? When you come to Australia, you got to do a shoey.
How about these Australian friends? If any of them ask you for my shoe because they want to drink out of it, I'm saying no. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
No,
You come over here,
I'll give you one.
maybe Desley or Tim Zul, someone will give you the box and boot to have a shoe out
Yeah.
of there.
Oh man! So first, I just want to say before we let you go, first of all, congratulations on winning the world title and
Thank
and then
you.
winning the second one. You know, unifying both those belts. So, and we'll see where your journey takes you. We're watching.
Yeah, thank you.
What I just want to kind of give you the floor. Just anything you want to say to people watching before we let you go.
Yeah, look, I just want to say huge thank you to everyone, everyone who messages, everyone who, wishes me well, pulls me up on the street, everyone who's backing, watching on, without the support that we get, friends, family, sponsors, everybody, just a massive thank you, and to yourselves as well. Both of you guys are doing great things for boxing, and you guys are seeing what's missing in this sport, and what you're doing is just great for everybody. So yeah, I'm really appreciative of that. But yeah, just a massive thank you. And like, this is huge, but I feel we're only just getting started. So I want to bring everybody on the ride. So it's
All right.
teamwork.
Ladies and gentlemen, the IBF and WBO champion, the one and the only Desley Robinson, the queen of the shoey. There we go. Right.
Hey.
So
Thanks,
have a good one,
Have
Desley.
a
We
good-
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Good chat. See ya.
For sure. All right, man. Hey, well, thanks for joining me here at Linden. Any final words
mate.
before we wrap this one up?
No, just no. Thanks for yourself for putting Desley on and sort of giving the American viewers a bit of a look at another Aussie champion down this way, and hopefully she can fly the flag, and a few more will follow her after that.
A couple of Aussies saying they don't like the shoey.
It's
but hey, I guess that's the point, right? I don't know. But that is that. Hey, you're going to be on tonight?
I am, mate. Yep, I'll be on tonight. So everyone in Australia, I'll be on at 7 p.m. tonight to discuss all the probably a lot what was discussed in the last couple of hours. But tune in anyway.
As for all the any Americans with insomnia, you could tune into Boxing Deep Dive. I used to, when I had a different schedule at another job, I used to stay up and watch it. It's been hard. I got to get up at 7 a.m, so I'll probably be knocked out like Pacquiao was against Marquez in that fourth fight. And that'll be it for me. But everyone, make sure you tune in to Boxing Deep Dive. If you subscribe, you can always catch all his stuff on the archive. He does the walk-in boxing and all that good stuff. So that is that. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.
Thanks, mate. Bye.